Hello, everybody. So you must be feeling the feeling of the eclipse already, because I sure am. I started to feel it on, let's see, just trying to pinpoint when I started to feel this energetic shift, because it's noticeable. I would say Sunday evening. Yeah. And it's hard to describe, but it was like a mood shift, and also like a perception shift, to the point where things even sort of look different to me, like even visually. You know, sometimes you're walking down the street, same old street you've always been down, and the energy changes so much that you're like, something's different here. It looks different. It's that kind of feeling for me. So see what it is for you, and see if maybe you feel it already, or maybe it's going to kick in soon, because we have our eclipse coming. And eclipses are powerful times, especially when they're landing on a full moon, and especially when the moon is in perigee, or at its closest point to the Earth, and therefore it's called a supermoon. I wanted to just read you a little bit more, just a quick but more descriptive of what perigee means, because the moon is in perigee for this full moon in Sagittarius. So it basically, perigee just means near the Earth. So the moon is full or opposite from the Earth from the sun once each month. It's new or more or less between the Earth and the sun once each month. And every month as it orbits, the moon comes closest to the Earth or to perigee. So the opposite of that is perihelion, which means it's at the furthest point from the Earth. So what does it mean if the moon is in perigee during a full moon? It's the closest it is to the Earth, and it's full. So every month, as you've heard me say, full moons bring out intensity. Why? Well, they literally correspond to the tides. They correspond to the water level on the planet, and therefore in our bodies, and therefore that builds a pressure, and that can bring a fullness of feeling, and that fullness sometimes is wonderful. And of course, many times it's not. It can bring up a fullness of emotion on any level. It could be anger, could be sadness, but it can also be love and joy too. And that's why it's really hard to say for each full moon, oh, we're all going to feel. Nobody can tell you you're going to feel this way. Absolutely. All we know is literally the atmosphere changes with the full moon. The water level, the gravity changes with the full moon every month. And so you see a heightening of emotion. And like we said, it could play out either way for you month by month. When it's a full moon and it's at its closest point, that's going to mean the tides and those water levels, that pressure, inner pressure, that emotional energy could be even stronger. It's basically what that means. So what does a supermoon mean? So supermoons are not unusual. We hear the supermoon thing off and on all the time. They occur as a regular part of the moon's orbit around the Earth. So when the moon is at this point, it appears around 14% bigger than a full moon at the furthest point away, at apogee, when the moon is sometimes called a micromoon. So basically, supermoon, again, it's in perigee. It's at the closest to the point to the Earth. So it looks bigger. That's what it means. But people, there's going to be so many videos out there for this eclipse telling you, oh, the supermoon and something special and magical is going to happen because it's a supermoon. It's not that rare. Sorry. The part that's rare is that it is a supermoon or in perigee and an eclipse That makes it more rare, a more rare event. So what do eclipses mean? I've gone over this at times too, but we have a series of eclipses during the year. So imagine you've got, the biggest moon possible. Let's just say this is our moon. It's a desert rose, any stone. But anyway, let's use something better for the moon. Okay, here's my amethyst. Let's pretend this is the moon. So you've got, oh, I need something better for the earth than that. Well, this is an egg. That's not the earth, but pretend this is the earth. That's a damn big moon compared to the earth. Anyway, just go with me. So you've got the moon full and you've got it at its closest point. So it's already looking huge and you can feel, right? As you bring two things together, the magnetism, the relationship, it gets stronger. Tides and, like I said, water, gravity pull, stronger. So you feel it emotionally, you feel it in your body. Now, something comes along and eclipses that for a second. It goes. So the eclipse is like a big reveal, a surprise, a 180. In relationships, let's say, there could be a turning point. You could get suddenly closer, or you could suddenly realize this isn't what I thought or who I thought they were. Because the eclipse will bring about some sort of, now you see me, now you don't. I'm revealing this and now it's gone. I have a little window where something is hidden and then it reappears. And that part that's hidden, what's revealed when it's eclipsed? What's the hiding little piece that you're going to see before things go back to sort of normal? That's where we don't know. Surprises can happen on any level. And we're going to look in your sign. I'm going to look today with the cards, but also let you know what house is this eclipse happening in for your sign. What area of your life can you maybe expect the surprise? And it's good to take a look at the reading for your moon sign and for your rising sign, especially your rising sign, if you want to know what area of your life for sure, because then that's actually based on the houses of your chart, more or less. I say more or less because everything goes by degrees in astrology, and we need to make sure that we look at your particular chart to say for sure. But in general, if you know your rising sign and I tell you, Virgo rising, the eclipse is going to fall in house number 4. Okay, that's my home life. That's my family life. That's my roots and ancestors. That's anything to do with my domestic routines at home. So what could an eclipse mean for that person? That's what we're going to do for your personal readings. But first, let's take a look now at the actual chart, and we'll try to get a hold on what might be coming up for this special moon. First of all, it hits, if you're in the Eastern time zone, it's going to arrive Wednesday morning, May 26th at 7:14 a.m. They're saying that it's mainly, if you're in Canada or the West Coast, it's mainly visible to you over there. So West Coast. They said you might get a little glimpse of it if you're in Southern Ontario or something, or like the Midwest. During a certain little window of it, but basically the people who can see the full eclipse are going to be in, well, because by the time it reaches us, daylight will have arrived here in the Eastern time zone, whereas it's still going to be dark for you to see it in the West Coast. So lucky you if you get to go out and watch. So this is quite an interesting sort of complex chart this time, because there are planets pretty equally distributed in almost every house. And that doesn't happen all the time. Usually, if you follow my videos, you'll know, like, a lot of the time there's clusters that happen of planets in certain houses, and then they square off, or they accent very nicely. And so it really hyper focuses the full moon or new moon energy on a certain area of life. But this is much more evenly distributed, so it's a little nicer. There's also a lot more angles or aspects. There's really good ones and there's really difficult ones, just like always. So we're gonna go into that. Pardon me. So one first interesting thing is that this full moon in Sag is hitting the south node in Sagittarius. To me, that makes it another more powerful full moon, because you've got the sun affirming the north node in Gemini, and you've got the full moon pulling us back to the south node in Sagittarius. So basically, that moon and that south node are very comfortable with travel, with foreign lands, foreign cultures. Definitely we might see some stress around the issues of traveling. I'm not sure yet whether that'll be through restrictions or opening up, or issues that happen with traveling, rules that are changed around opening up or traveling. But that I would expect to be a push. The North Node, though, in Gemini with the sun, that, as I've mentioned, is local. That is staycations. That is take a road trip in your own province or your own state. That's what Gemini does. It stays in its own vicinity, and it gets curious, and it gets to know every little bit of where they are themselves. That's that moon south node in Sag that's going, oh, but I want to go to Italy, or, oh, but I remember what it was like when we went to Thailand. Oh God, I desperately want to see something else, for something exotic, something different, get me out of my normal surroundings. So you might have those longings stirred up. The other aspect of Sag moon with south node there is, on the other level, is their Sag is very sort of getting on your soapbox and speaking what you believe is the truth, and sort of rallying people. It's a bit of a guru moon. It can be. So we might see some pretty charismatic people out there proselytizing whatever their thing is, whether that's that could be anything from trying to sell us stuff to getting us to join things. Again, sort of a big sexy message about their coaching program, or could be other people like myself, spiritual people, saying, oh, this is what it is, and this is what's happening, and this is what you've got to do. And there's a bit of this, I know, and so follow me, I have the truth and I'm handing it to you because I know, kind of feeling about the moon south node in Sag. You know, that combination would say, like, you've had many lives traveling around, maybe a missionary in another life. You've had many lives where you've been exposed to different lands, different cultures and ways of life, different peoples, and you believe that you know some truths about life, and nobody can stop you from bringing it to the group or the masses. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, it would say to me, just be careful not to get too hyped about anybody's anythings right now, whether that's, crypto investments, or whether that's a yoga teacher, life coach, or even a politician trying to spin things in a particular way. Because the North Node and the Sun in Gemini, again, it's an opposite energy. That means, like, stay where you are, stay in your home state, your home province, your own country. Get to know it better, talk to everybody around, understand all the little minutiae of things that are going on in your environment, with the people that are around you, with the land that's around you, And on the intellectual side, or the, Gemini is too curious to say, oh no, that's it, that's all, I have the truth. No, Gemini is like, everything is possible, so let's try this today. Everybody has something valid, so how can I decide? Let's go see, let's just go get curious. So I would say, if you feel at any point like you're being sold or spun or convinced of anything, or you feel mesmerized by anybody or anything, step back and just remember the Gemini message, like, there's everything on the planet. Let's just get curious. You can still stick around and stay curious about whatever or whoever, whatever you're listening to or whoever, but stay open and curious. Again, I make this chart for the people in the Eastern time zone. So if that's you, then this Sun North Node Gemini influence is actually in your 12th house. In the 12th house for everybody, along with Venus and Mercury. And by the way, Mercury is going retrograde on the 29th. So it's time to think about that as well. Really be careful if you're signing anything. I know, like, this is cheesy classic advice, but it does still, to me, hold weight. Because if Mercury is retrograde, what it does, it's not like it's out there magically screwing up your contracts and documents and paperwork. It's that it's putting your mental energies inward. So how many of us can be like deep in thought, or trying to remember a dream, or coming out of meditation, and then suddenly jump into signing something legal or looking at numbers, right? Most of us are a little bit fogged out for a second. We have to come back, we have to wake up, smell the coffee, and then we're ready to focus on details. This is what's going on with Mercury retrograde. It just means that you're more in your memories, your emotions. Maybe your mind's in the past. Maybe you're daydreaming, future or past. And you just need to bring yourself present before you really commit to anything. So again, with these influences I've listed so far, there's a lot of pull towards Gemini, a lot of socializing and talking, but it's in the 12th house. If you're in the Eastern Seaboard here, that might be online or in private, because it's the 12th house. That could also mean that your inner life is going crazy. The mental chatter inside in your mind could be really high. There could be a lot of dreaming and a lot of messages and interesting things coming through in your dream life, or in your deeper meditations. They could be amazing right now with all that Gemini in the 12th. Anytime you quiet yourself or you're in private, your mind is really going to be active. For those of you that are not in the Eastern time zone, it's going to hit either the 11th or the first house, which would be very social. So like 4 planets, well, North Node, super social, full moon. Whereas Moon and Sag, South Node and Sag, I'm good alone. I'm good alone. I'll just stay alone. It's fine. The pull and the directionality is to get out and talk and socialize and stay curious, not singular. All right. The next thing that I'm seeing, we will look at aspects to this moon. Obviously, moon and sun are always opposite during a full moon. So that right there, who you are and what you need is at odds. That already creates a tension once a month with full moons. So who am I and what do I need? Classic questions, and they might be different. But the moon is also squaring Jupiter, which, isn't that bad. Jupiter just went into Pisces, which is cool. This is a great influence, Jupiter in Pisces. It's going to bring out creativity and compassion and tolerance. It's wonderful for connection, for having more patience, more acceptance of others or of everyone. more sort of welcoming people into the fold, more taking care of people, saving little animals, maybe rescuing dogs and cats, rescuing people, helping people out. This is a beautiful influence with Jupiter in Pisces. However, it squares the sun and the moon. So you've got, again, that Sagittarius, I know the way, I know the path, I am here to bring it to you. Freedom, I want my freedom. So I want to, I'll be alone. If I need people, or if I need nature, or if I need animals, I'll go get it. But otherwise, you're pretty good to be alone because you want your freedom. Whoever's around you must respect your freedom or forget it. Now, Jupiter in Pisces is there just melting all of that. It's like, let's just have everyone sit together. It doesn't matter. It's okay, Sag, like, let's just accept the situation for what it is. Let's just cool. And also, if Jupiter squares off with Gemini planets, which it's just squaring the sun, it's not squaring off with Venus and Mercury, which have progressed a little later. So how would it square off with Gemini? Well, again, Gemini is like, ooh, wonder what that is. Wonder what that is. Oh, this is cool. Did you hear about that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know that person. All over the place, like curious, like crazy, clever, like crazy. And Jupiter in Pisces, again, is just like, oh, let's just feel this, like, let's just chill. Let's just accept the vibe as it is. We don't have to know everything going on. Let's just read what we feel intuitively. That's enough. It's like a Jupiter in Pisces, how it would square off with that. Now, the moon is making a nice aspect to Saturn. It's just sextile, which is no big deal. It's like having a helper, but it's not like some sort of magical flow kind of line. But it's helpful. What it is doing is making a nice aspect to Chiron. But Chiron is the wound. Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron is an Aries, and that's a wound of the self. Chiron in Aries is somebody that has a hard time either having a sense of themselves, they give themselves up too easily. They might feel like they're always, the low man on the ladder, or left behind, or they might feel like people use them or take them for granted because their own sense of their themselves and their own needs is often not strong enough. And so it does tend to bring that scenario. They will attract other people with much stronger egos since theirs is not. And they can end up, again, like I said, this mesmerized guru kind of factor. They can put somebody on a pedestal. The moon in Sag is making a nice aspect to Chiron. So if you do catch yourself putting anybody on a pedestal, or you're trying to put yourself on one, recognize that person is operating from some sort of ego wound, or they wouldn't need to do that or come on that strong, right? When things are in balance, we don't need big shiny programs and 10 steps to enlightenment, and we don't need showmanship. We don't need glitz, we don't need somebody going, that's the way, or you should, this is my, whether that's politicians, whatever, I don't care. When it's in balance, that's not the way the voice of balance plays out. So just watch for that this moon. Again, it's helpful to heal that ego wound when something is trining off, making a good aspect to Chiron. You might want to work on that in your personal life and your issues. Why did I give myself away so easily? Why did I give my power away? Can I forgive myself that I tried to save a narcissistic boyfriend or girlfriend or wife or parent? Or can I forgive myself that I didn't put myself first enough. And now can I step up and take better care of that? You know, that's a good way to use this moon. That's a nice healing vibe. So it's funny, you know, as I'm going around the chart, like there's always tensions, but there's a really nice healing feeling of this full moon if you allow it, if that's where your mindset is at. Now, Chiron is also, since we're on the wound, Chiron is squaring off with Mars in Cancer, and that's a difficult aspect. Mars in Cancer is not direct. They don't like conflict. So instead of, say, being direct, like Aries, Chiron and Aries, it's difficult. They need to be more direct, and they need to say like, hey, you know, that hurts me when you do this. Mars in Cancer doesn't like that kind of directness. It goes sort of sideways. It tries to subtly kind of manipulate, or it lets out its aggression in a passive aggressive way, because Cancer's all about emotion and Mars is not comfortable in that kind of water sign. You know, water, think about like water to be assertive has to be like a rushing river or a giant tidal wave. So sometimes Mars in Cancer can bring moments of tidal waves of emotion, and it brings temper. For some people, you might feel waves of temper yourself, and you might go, whoa, where did this come from? Well, we've had Mars in Cancer for the last little while. Things have been building up and they can peak or blow. It's not blowing like a fire sign would, where they just and yell, you know. This, when a Cancer Mars gets mad, you feel like, oh, and then gosh, and it's intensely emotional when it comes out. So it's not always yelling. It could be days of venting. It could be a week of silent treatment. It could be brooding. It could be storming off and pouting. Cancer Mars can pout because they can't confront. So it'll be like, oh, wow. Grumble, grumble, you know, talking under their breath as they're walking down the hall. So we want to watch for that this full moon. It's not pleasant. Again, all you can do for yourself is ask yourself, have I been letting anything build up to a point where I'm very upset, frustrated, angry, and I haven't been dealing with it? Just try to be honest about that in yourself so that you could take a decision, whether that's to speak or write or avoid for now, up to you. But just so that you don't unleash this tsunami wave over your life because you've let something build and blow. That could be self-destructive, especially when it's squaring off with a wound in Chiron. Like maybe something is built up where you feel like people constantly misunderstand and mistreat you. And all of a sudden something sets it off and like, you know, and the wave comes in and floods the beach, which is your life. And it can make a mess. So just watch for that. And that same Mars in Cancer is also opposite Pluto. So again, be doubly careful of the temper tantrum anger factor. However, if it does get triggered, Mars opposite Pluto will definitely activate something. So again, I don't like to say don't do this or do that, because it's up to you what's coming up for you and how you want to use it. In general, you know, you want to be careful when you unleash anger moments or ultimatums or anything really intense, because it does catalyze it. You know, you can lose things, opportunities, and you can also gain them, because it's just a time when the revolving door is quick. If you unleash strong emotion, people also take a strong stance, either to align or to avoid you, depending on what it is. So for some of you, if you've been waiting, that build up moment, that tsunami moment, and you've been waiting for when is the right time to do my 180. Maybe it's to leave something, to say no to something, to bring something up, fully knowing that this could change the game. Don't do it naive, like, oh, it'll all work. But if you're doing it consciously, knowing that, okay, I'm setting something big in motion in my life, then you can use that. You can use that with Pluto there, and you will definitely shed something and change the game. Pluto, even though it's in Capricorn, it's right at the end. And so by degree, it's actually making a nice angle to that sun in Gemini. So some of you, that could be a good catalytic energy. Now, the last thing I wanted to say is we have our Venus and Mercury in Gemini. Like I said, get curious, learn, get out there and talk, socialize, pick up the phone. It is making a nice angle to Jupiter. So even though it's Gemini, like we said before, the sun is the one squaring off with Jupiter, but Venus and Mercury are happily making a nice angle to Jupiter. So an excellent time to get out with people and just try to be your best, tolerant, accepting. Everyone's got their own way, their own opinion. That's how they are. You know, we've all been in quarantine and locked up for a long time now. So we do need some patience with everybody's quirkiness or neediness, need to talk, different opinions. When you've got Jupiter in Pisces, that's going to help breed a lot of compassion and tolerance in your socializing. Just be curious, get to know people, be curious how they're different from you and let them be. And it's going to be lovely, really lovely. And our Saturn is already at 13 degrees Aquarius, and it is also making a nice trine to Venus and Mercury. So of all the things in this chart, I would say the main focus is that Gemini vibe. Try to release anybody who's too much of a single-minded, loner, self-righteous kind of energy. Try to embrace the people that are like, I wonder what's next. I wonder what the world's going to look like next. I wonder what we can do to rebuild it. Oh, I know somebody who does this. Maybe we could collaborate with them. Oh, you know what? So-and-so's been lonely. I'm going to pick up the phone and see how they're doing. Oh, I had a dream of so-and-so, and I haven't heard from them in years. Let's reach out and see how they are. And just listen. Then you're going to have a beautiful full moon experience. If this is the chill vibe that you can get to, you can have a great experience of this full moon. So now let's take a look with our cards, what's coming in addition to what this message is. It feels sort of dark in here. Well, it looks like it's going to storm outside, not on my end. I don't know how about you, but oh, and we have jumper cards, so I'll lay those down first. That's the thing with tarot. They're amazing that way. They literally, cards jump out of the deck sometimes when they want us to listen to that message. And another one just jumped as well. Maybe I'm just going to keep shuffling until they all jump. Sorry, my camera doesn't really show the jumping. So here we go. All right, so our first card here is, they called it the Eon, but it is the Judgment card in other classic decks. This is the Thoth deck. The Judgment card basically means that it's time for you to step out and make a judgment call on something in your life. Most people think of the Rider-Waite deck, which looks more like the Judgment Day, where it's someone outside or it's God coming down to judge you. But in the Thoth deck, it's much more self-empowered than that. The Thoth deck knows that things come from within. It's not an external force. And so the Aeon or card means that If you've been on the fence for a long time and you're tired of your mind looping around and around the same old stuff, if there's an ongoing issue and it's never quite solved or resolved, if there's a decision that you keep going around and around on, it's time to just call it a day and make a decision. This is an important card of like, just sort of, you have to get off the hamster wheel. You've got to make your life go forward. And so you've got to stand up and make a decision. You know, people have been thinking about quitting their job for 5 years. Decide. Thinking about moving for the last 5 months, 10 months. Take a decision, stick by it. You're tired of the way certain dynamics are in your family life. Take a stand. I'm tired of that. I'm not doing that. You know, that's the kind of card it is. Now, our next card that flew out of the deck is the Queen of Cups. So some of you will be dealing with her. That could represent you or someone close to you, but she's a watery, Cancer-y, Pisces type of sign. She likes things to be calm. She's reflective. She's very empathic and intuitive. She's connecting to people on a subtle, emotional, or spiritual level more than talking. She's more introverted or shy. Unless she's really comfortable, then she's got a lot to say. So think about who that might be in your life, or if it's you. The next card, unfortunately, is our Three of Swords. So as I mentioned with the planets and also this with the Eon or Judgment card, when you make a decision, or when you let that tsunami of emotion up, if that's what happens, you will catalyze other changes and there will be some sense of loss, even though you are going forward at the same time. You know, let's say you decide to sell your house. It's been years and you've decided to sell. Well, you're going forward to a brand new life, which is exciting, but you're still going to feel grief that your old chapter's over, you know? So if this is related to a property, a job, or any, you know, a relationship decision, and it's been a long time coming, just let yourself embrace that grief when it's there. And we've got good old Mars and Aries here, Two of Wands. So again, anger and conflict, friction, fighting. We want to try to minimize this, obviously, unless it's really, really time for it and it's necessary. We don't need to go into battle over something petty. You know, we don't need to go into battle for something that will have long-term repercussions or a stink, you know, that lingers over a friendship or something at work just because you were mad, you know. So really think hard about that anger energy before you unleash it, if that's coming up. And again, we have another nurturing sign. Interesting reading. The Empress is very similar to the Queen of Cups. It's just that the Empress is holds more clout. She's more powerful. She's more confident. She's a queen, but she's sort of like the mother queen, you know. She's very connected to the cycles of the moon. You can see these moon phases. You see also the swan at the bottom with all her little babies. So talking about fertility, but also grace, you know, as a mother. She's got her coat of arms, so you know that she's coming from a rich ancestry, and she's got, you know, wealth, or she's very well protected somehow. The Empress can sometimes mean pregnancies. So super strong fertility. If that's not the case for everybody, obviously, then again, a creative message to birth something new. So that's sort of a doubly feminine, nurturing, you know, like I said, Jupiter in Pisces, like, oh, you know, this poor squirrel I saw across the road is hungry. I'm going to go feed him. It's a very caring, delicate, tuning into the people that are, or the animals that are vulnerable, and looking out for them and taking them under your wing, being generous, being calm, listening. So we have this influence very strong in the midst of some very strong anger and grief that's coming up at the same time. It's very interesting read. Aye, okay. The Nine of Swords. This is nasty. It looks nasty. Look at the bleeding swords. Blood's dripping from all of them. The Nine of Swords basically says cruelty, and it's a card that means deception, manipulation, verbal abuse, psychological abuse. So, my gosh, what a healing, purging type of energy this full moon is. You might be purging, some of the stuff, the waves of anger I'm talking about, or even some of the influences of putting people on pedestals, or narcissistic or guru type of figures in your life. It could be memories of those from the past that it's time to clear, but definitely there's some nurturing and tenderness needed with yourself and towards others, because there's a lot of old pain coming up right now. And again, if you do run into new people that seem to have that guru quality, careful. Don't dash into anything and promise anything or sign anything. And we have the Seven of Swords. So this card is cooled off. Look at that. It's just chill. Cool, no emotion. It's walking away. The Seven of Swords is futility. So if these cards apply to certain people in your life with all of this anger, grief, and any kind of manipulation or abuse, this is clearly saying nothing you can do. Drop your swords and walk out the door. Just walk away. Sometimes, and that's what I talked about with Mars and Pluto activated. If you've evaluated and you've consulted people that you trust and you still feel like it's time to walk away, Mars Pluto might be a great time to do it. Otherwise, if it's less intense for you, the Seven of Swords can just be anything you decide to just drop. It's not worth it. Anything at all. Doesn't have to be dramatic. Then we've got our good old Prince of Discs, which is usually sort of charming, sort of lazy bum. He wants everything to be luxurious without having to really work so hard for it. He feels entitled to stuff in a certain way, but he won't tell you, oh yeah, I deserve, or why aren't they doing this for me? He's not overt about it like a fire sign might be. He's an earth sign. He just deeply believes that he's owed something. And it's too bad, because if he would mature a little bit, then he becomes the king, which is ultra reliable, rock solid person. So basically what you have with the prince is a guy who has enormous potential to be hardworking and responsible and like the Rock of Gibraltar for people, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be responsible for it yet. He wants to just have fun and have it come to him. So he has an enormous learning curve to come. So let's just see how this guy factors in some of these dynamics I'm mentioning. And then finally, we have the sun. What a nice way to leave that off. So this sort of speaks of some happy endings. This sort of, to me, speaks of, getting in touch with that fun-loving outdoors. Again, we see like two figures dancing. Get out and reach out to people right now. Things are opening up again. We have a window of time over the summer where we'll be able to reunite and connect and see people. Really make an effort to bring that back into your life. And kids, if you're outside, just notice the kids playing, the joy of the babies, drink in that joy wherever you see it. If you see a couple of dogs running around having a great time, just let yourself enjoy how much fun they're having, even if you're not the one running around. So letting yourself shine and letting yourself heal. This feels to me like whatever needs to be purged. It's a happy ending kind of card to the process. So that makes me very happy. So if you are experiencing things where you're healing or taking huge decisions this month, just know that it's most likely for the best. And I sort of believe most of us can feel it intuitively if we're doing something that could be potentially self-destructive versus catalyzing the energy, setting something in motion so that you set a change in motion, which still causes people to be upset with it. But it's very different than somebody who's like, like that a bull in a china shop, just destructive for no purpose at all, angry for no reason, doesn't have an idea, just flinging their sarcasm and their nastiness all over people without having a purpose as to why. It's very different than saying, now's my moment. I've been upset about X, Y, or Z for a long time, or I'm ready to decide or put my foot down. When you do it consciously, you still catalyze a lot of people. You activate things and people don't always like it, which brings conflict, but it's a totally different kind of conflict. Sometimes, so if you're consciously doing it, looks like a good full moon for that. Otherwise, we'll be careful on that. Okay, so let's take a look. We're going to talk about where the eclipse falls for each sign, and then we're going to talk about one card for each sign, how to deal with your eclipse. Okay, so I'm just going to have the chart in front of me, so I'm looking. Alrighty. So now I can't see the time of the live stream. Okay, so Aries, your eclipse is going to fall in your 5th house, which is romance and dating, playfulness, your inner child, self-expression. So this could be a wonderful time for that. Sometimes, though, it means, an event will go down in your life that will accent this part of your life, meaning anything. I mean, your partner could do something really romantic. You might rediscover that something in your couple that you think is just mundane actually feels super romantic or lovely. Your partner might do something that super supports your self-expression. You might be the one supporting theirs. If you're single, you might want to get out there and date. It might be a good timing. So Aries, how do you handle your eclipse? And we get the 4 of Cups, which is lovely. It's luxury. Moon in Cancer. This would say, like, just pamper yourself. It's the main thing I'm getting here, Aries. Like, if you want to stay in and feed your partner grapes, I don't know. That's a luxury and romance image. If you want to start something, if you paint, if you want to do a reno, like think of something that's going to make you feel cozy and luxurious, not just like, minimalist and functional. Like, bring in that lovely velour kind of vibe into your life with your love life and your self-expression. Say no more. It's going to be good for you, Aries. Right, Taurus. So Taurus, the full moon, the eclipse for Taurus falls in your, sorry, I got to calculate math while I'm channeling, and it always takes me a second. Okay. So. it would be in your, oh my, I really can't think today. Let me just try to pause this thing for a second. Oh, you can't. Okay. You're going to have to bear with me as I figure this out. I have to draw a chart because I can't think straight. All right. I'm going to look this up so I will be faster for everyone else. Sorry about that, Taurus. All right, here we go. Oh, I got the Aries one wrong. I'm so sorry. See? Aries will come back to you. So Aries, it's actually in your 9th house, not your 5th. See, Mercury retrograde is already working on my brain. See, I fogged out on something that normally I just have at the top of my head. That's what happens in Mercury retrograde. So do you see what I mean? Like if I had signed something and said, no, that's the way it is, and I turn out to be wrong because I was foggy headed and I reversed something in my head. So we're going to start again for the Aries reading. I'm going to write it down differently. All right, Aries, we're starting again. Okay, so for Aries, your eclipse is going to fall in the 9th house, which is higher learning and traveling and expanding your horizons. So great time to learn something new, take a cooking class from another country, watch foreign films, documentaries. Definitely it's a travel. Definitely that's a traveling message if you can. Maybe you can't travel yet, but you could be planning your next trip or planning a road trip. Allowing yourself to delve into anything philosophical. Sagittarius 9th house is, usually somebody who's understands multiple languages, or maybe they have studied something about animal life on the other side of the world, stuff like that. It's like getting curious about the globe and doing something to learn. And if you can, then you go travel and you fly or you road trip to it, or at least plan it. So I'm going to pull a different card for Aries, since now I have the right info. All right, Aries, your card is 7 of Discs. So you might be feeling a little tight on cash this full moon. Or sometimes this is issues of self-worth and trust that come up. So when it's applied to the 9th house, I would wonder whether you need to just open your mind about learning and teaching, or people that you're taking your information from. Maybe you're going to look more scrutinizingly at who you learn from. If it's finance related, because I really sort of feel it is, and we're talking about expanding your horizons and travel, you might feel a bit frustrated that you don't have the means to do the things or go on the trips that you'd like to. And if it's self-worth related with that message of learning and travel, well, don't crap on yourself and think you're not smart enough to go back to university. Stuff like that. Don't put yourself down. It's not too late to expand your life and to keep learning. So I apologize, Aries, that I got that first one wrong. If you want to go back, you sort of have 2 readings, even though the first one isn't the right one. All right, now we're going to look at Taurus. All right, so Taurus, this eclipse is falling in house number 8. All right, so When an eclipse happens in your 8th house, it's pretty deep stuff. That rules sex, death, and other people's money. You might find yourself thinking about the deeper topics of life. You might be getting, it also rules the occult, that house. You might have some sort of strong dream. You might feel spirit around you. You might have dreams of ancestors. You might be going through something with issues with your sexuality. You might be thinking about your mortality. It's all the deepest, heaviest stuff that you're thinking about this eclipse. Now, let's see what your card is. Okay, the 10 of Cups. So this is my like emotional, mental burnout kind of card. You see, it almost looks like a foggy brain. If you look at this like a face with a foggy cloud at the top. It's a Pisces card. I would say, Taurus, try not to let yourself get too much down the rabbit hole, whatever you're thinking about, and balance it out with some lighter activity or lighter pursuits. Like, go ahead and think the deep, dark stuff and go sit by a river for a while, but also pull back and watch some comedy or break it up. Otherwise, this is sort of signaling that you could feel a little bit overwhelmed, spaced out, burnt out, with how much is coming up for you at once to think about. So yeah, it's easy to remedy that. Just take breaks, break the vibe, and do something light or fun, or go talk to somebody. Gemini. So your eclipse will fall in your 7th house, which is intimate partnerships and marriage. So I would expect with an eclipse in my house of marriage to see some shift in my marriage. And it doesn't mean good or bad. It just means something might change direction. Something might come up. Something could deepen it. Something could bring up something old that you've got to take a look at in one of you. You might want to have talks about where your relationship or your partnerships are going. Reinstate your future goals together, your values together. If you're single and there's an eclipse in your 7th house, well, that could bring somebody in. If you're dating and it's not very stable, the eclipse could send them out. It's sort of an in and out, with an eclipse in your 7th house. It'll bring people in or out the door. And like I said, if you're already committed, it'll bring shift in the relationship. So what is your card? That's nice. Sorry, I keep looking out the window because it looks like there's a real big thunderstorm ready to happen. So we have the High Priestess, which is lovely for your message. This is all about that receptive, divine feminine. Trust your intuition, be soft, be gentle. Allow whoever is coming and going if you're single. Someone new shows up, allow it. Oh, cool, let's just see. Like I said, maintaining that Gemini curiosity you have is the way to win with this full moon. Oh, somebody's leaving. Someone's not texting as much. Okay, tap into your gut feeling. Maybe you already sensed that this wasn't really working, so don't cling. Just go, okay, so my intuition was right. So just allow. Also, you might get visions or dreams of people that are going to enter next, and that could be very nice for you. So allow yourself to trust your dreams and your intuition much more this full moon. That's a nice message. I like that. Now, Cancer. Cancers, this eclipse is falling in your 6th house, which is health and service. Sometimes siblings, not siblings, extended family, aunts, uncles, pets, people in the neighborhood that you're close to. So an eclipse in my 6th house, I would expect to see some shifting in my health. Now, that could be anything from maybe you suddenly decide to go on a proper cleansing diet. That could mean you bring exercise classes back to your life. That could mean that you get some sort of wake-up call about something you should pay attention to. Maybe you've got to quit an addictive substance. Maybe you've got to increase your circulation. You've got to work. There might be like some sort of message about how to eat or take care of yourself better or differently. So don't think of it as like a big scary thing. It's just like just listen to what's going on with your body and make adjustments. Do the thing you need to do. If you've been sitting too much, well, and you need to exercise, let the eclipse put some fire under your butt. And your card is the universe. So that's interesting. It's a nice card, but it suggests that a lot of things are coming to a close or an end. So again, if we mention like habits, maybe it's time for you to let some old habits die and come to a close. If you chronically don't exercise, maybe it's time to say, you know what, that chapter where I'm not taking care of myself with that is over. On another level, the universe provokes a lot of reevaluation of life. You might be thinking a lot or needing a lot of time to yourself to digest everything that's coming up as you change your lifestyle. But this is a great eclipse for lifestyle change. And again, for putting closure to patterns and behaviors and habits that no longer work for you. So I think that's a lovely message for you, this eclipse. All right, Leos. Leo, this eclipse falls in your fifth house, which is self-expression and romance. So this is a great time to date if you're not dating, to meet new people. Maybe if there's any kind of gathering, or it can be in person or online, but it'd be a great time to expand your horizons to meet new people. It's also about self-expression. So if you ever wanted to take singing lessons, or if you want to start any kind of artistic class, even if it's like digital, self-expression means anything. Like some people, self-expression isn't always like fine arts. It's, speak up, talk more, share your opinion on something, crack a joke, because it's playful. The fifth house is ruled by Leo. And so the eclipse is right in line with you being more playful and having more fun. In fact, I'm going to even say, go play. That's your big advice. Be playful and silly and fun, and try not to censor yourself so much. And it's going to help open your heart and bond you. And it's going to help you with anybody that you might want to be meeting romantically or dating, because, if you can be silly and be yourself, then you're actually, your guard is down. If you don't feel you can be that with somebody, something's off. It's not an aligned partnership. So let's see your card for this full moon. And you get the Hangman. So, well, that's sacrifice. Nah, that's totally opposite to play. So we don't want to see you sacrificing. In this case, I'm going to say this full moon eclipse should be you getting out of any kind of sacrificial mode that you're in, where you're like, oh, well, I'll just put up with this one more time. Or, oh, well, I'll just listen even though they don't ask about me. Oh, well, I'm not really having fun, but, I'm part of this community or this group. Don't. We want to see levity, fun, playful, sparkly, bouncing around, happy, playing, dancing around the kitchen kind of stuff. We don't want to see like, okay, I'll just wait and sacrifice longer. Get out of that Hangman. Take yourself down from that post and stop it if you're doing that. That would be a huge eclipse turning point if you are doing that. We want you to only be having fun right now, okay? All right, Virgo. Virgo, this eclipse falls in your 4th house, which I sort of alluded to, didn't I? The beginning preamble. It's in your 4th house, so means your family life and your actual dwelling. So you could see renos, changes to your home, changes to the neighbors around you, construction or landscaping or stuff going on in around your house. Could be anything. Somebody puts in a new street lamp. I don't know. It just means there's a change in and around your home life. If it's not happening externally and it's internally, well, maybe you're the one going to rearrange the furniture. Maybe you're suddenly going to clean stuff up or organize it, or maybe you're going to invite people over. There's a change in your home life. Sometimes the eclipse in your 4th house will bring up stuff about your family and your roots. Something with your parents could possibly come up. So that's the only thing I'd say to be on alert for, is if there's anything that shifts in the family and then that shifts the dynamic. Sometimes eclipses can bring up old stuff, like family secrets come out. Once in a while it can do that. Let's just see what your card is. And we have work. Mars and Capricorn, 3 of discs. Well, this is like workaholic mode. I don't know if some of you are going to be working. If you are, like, this is a very intense time to be working really hard. If you're working from home, then that totally makes sense with the eclipse in the 4th. Otherwise, I get a feeling, sort of like I said for Leo, this is almost like the anti-advice. I don't really want to see you workaholic mode. I think you're probably always doing that. Try not to cope with going into workaholic mode. Try to let whatever's coming up with this 4th house transit let you feel out what you want to do next about your home life. Whether that's family roots, parents' issues, your actual dwelling. Like, don't bury yourself in your work and let this shift happen. You might need to make a very big decision. All right, Libra. Libra, your eclipse is happening in the 3rd house, which is all about communications, siblings, and short journeys. So you could see some shifts with short journeys. Can be, I don't know, if you were thinking of getting out of town or going on a day trip, there could be something interesting there that could be fun, could awaken you. So if you can, maybe go for a drive or check out something new that fits with the energy of all that Gemini and also with your 3rd house. Expanding your horizons, new scenery will help you, uplift you. 3rd house is also all about communicating. So when an eclipse happens in my 3rd house, I would expect something to happen with my communication. Either it's suddenly like overwhelming amount of communication or people, or there could be a sudden, where'd everybody go? It's quiet. I would expect a little bit of a what's going on kind of moment with how much social activity or communicating or words, like, so if people seem to go quiet or the wires are dead, don't worry about it. It's just a little, people are going through something. If it's suddenly like a talk fest, you'll probably love that. So that wouldn't matter. If it's related to your siblings, well, and it's communications, maybe it's a good time to reach out or, talk to them or get to know them better. Or there could be things going on with them and you want to reach out. Let's see what your card is. We have the Prince of Swords. So we've got a guy who's sort of clever but complicated, not easy to speak to. Stop and start communication. He could bamboozle people with his witty words and his salesy pitches, but what's he really saying? Or he might be like, yep, nope, yep, and he doesn't talk. It's a guy who's very intelligent, but who's got so much going on in his mind. His mind is a mess, so he tends to be scattered. And so a guy that's really smart and scattered but doesn't talk much, he's just too busy trying to get his head straight. Doesn't want to say anything to make himself look stupid or commit himself. Generally, this guy is fun to be around, but he's not very reliable. So if you're dealing with someone like that, if that's someone in your entourage or that you're communicating with, or if it's a sibling, you know, you need extra patience, that Jupiter in Pisces, to just sort of accept that this is how they are. This is how they are. Don't try to fix him. Because Libra, you usually want to make everything nice and smooth it over, and you can't smooth over a guy like that. Just accept him as he is. It could be a she as well, but just to say, that's the kind of person you're dealing with. Scorpios. All right, Scorpio, the eclipse is falling in your second house, so that's all about your money, work and money, the money that you make yourself, the money that you earn yourself. And so if I had an eclipse in my second house, I'd be watchful of my budget. I'd be watchful of people paying me on time if I'm in a business. I would be maybe curbing my shopping online or buying things online just in case anything weird happens. I just hold off until the eclipse passes before I buy anything big, or lend any money, or, you know, anything splurge worthy. I would say just hold off. Some people, the eclipse can bring a sudden influx of cash too. So could be that you have an investment come due. Could be that you suddenly have an opportunity, a new gig, a new contract, a new customer. So just whenever I feel like finances could be the thing that play out and roller coaster a bit, I would just say, like, budget, self-control, lay low, and be sure before you purchase, especially with Mercury retrograde coming. Yeah. But it doesn't mean this is a bad influence. I'm just saying, like, lay low a little on the spending. All right, what is your card? And you get the Eon, like the general reading. So overall, this is time to take a decision and take a stand and come forward and declare where you stand on a matter that's been long overdue. So if you're tossing and turning over a decision or a person and it's been a while, it's time to just step forward and make a decision. You may never have all the facts. You may never have a sign from God. You may never, you may never have enough advice to make that decision. This card means you decide and you say, that's what I've decided. Based on all my thinking process, this is what I decide. And now I finally move things forward. So that could play out in your financial life, since it's an eclipse, or your business life. Overall, I don't feel like this is a bad full moon for you at all. But just don't be afraid to make some decisions, but you can hold off to actually do them until the eclipse is past. All right, Sagittarius, this is happening in your sign, so let's take a look. When an eclipse happens on my sign, I expect an identity shift. I expect I could be reinventing my look. Maybe I suddenly just cut my hair, dyed my hair. Something physically that we can see in terms of your identity could be changing. Can be grooming, can be your clothes, can be colors, can be anything, but you might want to play with that. Play with your look. See if you feel like you can refresh yourself in a way that's more true to who you feel you are. So that can be a fun side of the eclipse. The other side might not be so fun. An eclipse on your identity, well, sometimes that can be a bubble burst. You know, you had one idea of yourself and something happens and you go, oh, maybe I'm not as whatever. Maybe I'm not as adventurous as I thought. Maybe I'm not as ambitious as I thought. Maybe I'm not as experienced or ready for something as I thought. But the eclipse can also work in the reverse too with identity. It can also be that you have a win, a great experience, something that says, shit, wow, I'm ready for this. Actually, no, I'm good at that. Wow, okay, people are responding to me more than I thought. So, but there, whatever plays out with this eclipse, it does affect your sense of identity. So that's why for Sag, it's a big one. Now, what's your card? Your card is the Two of Wands. So we had that in the general read. So you want to be careful of your anger this full moon. You want to be careful of frictions with people. You might not be the one causing it. You might say something you think is innocent, but usually, Sag, we know that you say something truthful and therefore blunt. So you may inadvertently say something that triggers somebody. They may say something that inadvertently triggers you. I'm just getting the word triggers. So just be very mindful of your triggers and triggering others. And the other thing too with this plus an identity shift is, well, you know, does a little bit of friction is or triggering, is that what sets off an identity, a bit of an identity shift or evaluation? I won't call it a crisis. It's not. It's just an awakening of, oh, that's who I am. Oh, that's who I'm not. And that might happen vis-a-vis some sort of trigger or conflict, is what it is, right? Okay, Capricorn. So Capricorn, this eclipse is happening in your 12th house. So very internal, psychological, private, secret, old stuff, deeply buried stuff, past life stuff. So 12th house is really powerful to have an eclipse. If I had that, I would expect a lot of dreams. I would expect maybe some past life dreams or memories. So if something feels strange that I'm dreaming about, I might ask myself, could this be another life? Could this be a past life connection? If you're trying to evaluate certain relationships, you might want to also ask yourself, maybe there's a connection from another life. Otherwise, like 12th house means you have to do a lot of internal digging to get your answers. So, and definitely means solitude. You're going to need some time alone this eclipse period this week. You're going to need some rest. You might feel more tired than usual, and it's because there's so much subconscious stuff going on, because this eclipse is activating your subconscious. So let's take a look now for your card. Yeah, so we have the Eight of Swords. So you're feeling torn about a bunch of things. This is a Gemini card, but it's Jupiter. This is my overanalysis card. The mind is got too many possibilities and too many what ifs, too many bargaining chips, too many people, too many what if maybe, or if then, and your mind is going crazy on analysis. Now, because it's your 12th house, you may not realize that's what's going on. You may just experience it as restless sleep, insomnia, weird dreams, overwhelming tiredness, a desire to be alone. But in the background, this is what's going on. I get a feeling that you need to slow down and listen to your heart and rest. All right, Aquarius, let's look at you. All right, Aquarius, your eclipse is falling in the 11th house, which is your house of community and groups that you belong to. Society at large. How do you blend in with the humanity in general? So your eclipse might suddenly thrust you back into groups or organizations. You know, if you're suddenly going back to work, that could even apply. If you're suddenly around people again or in groups. If you're socializing or invited to something, suddenly we're in larger groups. Or you might even be deeper questioning, you know, what do I want to contribute to society? Do I fit on this planet? You know, Aquarius, you might be feeling all kinds of things like that with how do I fit in this world, in the collective right now. So your card is a nice one. Yay, 9 of Cups, happiness. And it's a Pisces card, and it's even a Jupiter in Pisces card, which is in the skies right now. So remember what I mentioned at the reading. This is acceptance of others, acceptance of just allow, oh, there's new people around. Oh, I didn't invite them, but there they are. Okay, it's all right. Oh, this person's really loud. Okay, well, they're just a loud person. I'll just accept them. You know, I can do what I want, but I'm not here to remedy or change or fix or anything. I just accept things as they are. Oh, somebody needs an ear or a shoulder to cry on. Okay, I'll do that for a little bit. But otherwise, it's very nice for creativity, for feeling like you're in your flow. You might want to be listening to some really good music while you're busy. You might want to put on your old favorite movie. You might want to put on your favorite pair of pajamas. I don't know. Like, this is a happy, happy, cozy card. Like, just do whatever feels good. Like, just do it. Accept other people. Oh, you like to wear your Star Wars jammies and you're 50 years old. Okay, well, you do you. I mean, I'm doing me. And all of that sort of playfulness, creativity, and being accepting of yourself and others will also help you feel that you actually are more part of the world than separate from it. And that is a good feeling. That's the oneness we're all looking for. Which brings us to Pisces. All right. So Pisces, this eclipse falls in your 10th house, which is your career. So whatever plays out, you could see some surprises or shifts or changes on the job front. You could feel some sense of, oh, I want to do something else with my life. You might get some eureka moment about what you want to do with your life. Changing path, you want to find your calling. You know, you don't just want it to be work. You want it to be like fulfilling. You want it to mean something. You want to maybe shift. You love your job, but you don't get along with the actual people. You might want to shift to a new department or a new place where you love the people as well, because there's some sort of shift on the career front for you. And sometimes the 10th house can bring stuff about the public eye. You could get noticed, some of you, for something. Could get some recognition, be sort of nice. Others of you, maybe that'll bring up a painful moment that you wish you were getting recognized, or rewarded or thanked for whatever. And for some of you, it could bring up family issues because it sort of rules the father. There's debate. Some say the father, the mother, but let's just say for classic sake, it's the father. So some of you, the eclipse in the 10th house could bring something that happens to your in and around your dad, or that relationship. Could be anything, bringing you closer, or something where you need to reconsider something that you'll do for him, or that he does for you. So I wouldn't worry too much. I don't get any bad feeling about it. I'm just saying, like, some people it'll play out as family, but I think it's more about you. I get a feeling it's more about you want to find a better quality in your career life. And your card is the Knight of Swords, the King of Swords. And the King, this is usually a very clever, fast-moving, fast-talking, analytical-minded, very rational, not very good with emotions or empathy. Super brilliant. You know, this is sort of like a scientist kind of card, computer, engineer, doctor, surgeon kind of card. You know, we don't expect them to be terribly emotional, at least not in their work. They're driven by their knowledge and their logic, and they move quickly. So if this is representing anybody in and around your career, or as I mentioned, a parent, I imagine this is going to be a person who factors greatly in your next decision, whether that's because you don't want to work with them or you meet somebody that you're inspired by because of the brilliance of him and you do want to work with him, or maybe it's a role model for your career. somebody that could be helping you, mentoring you, or sometimes, like I said, could be a father figure, a grandfather figure. Although it's not really granddad, it's more your dad when it comes to the 10th house. So if this quality reminds you of your dad, then your eclipse could play out something to do with him. All right, so this is an interesting read. There's interesting energy right now. If you need a personal reading with me, you can always reach me below in the comments, or you can reach me at river-rain.com or Clairvoyant Medium Catherine Allen on Facebook. And I wish everybody a very productive time. Allow the eclipse to bring changes that you want to make and that you are consciously aware of, and it will be a lovely, healing, connecting full moon for you. All right, thank you very much.